Yeah, thanks for the kind introduction. I'm very happy to be here again after I've already been here last year. So let's jump straight into the talk. So my topic is about approx, the approx crate. I'm sure most of you have heard about this. And the topic is how to do floating point comparisons in Rust. So first of all, I want to sort of set the stage a bit because the thing with the approx crate is that it's a quite old crate actually. So Brandon was the original author. He wrote the initial implementation in 2015, and he continued to develop the crate until 2022. And at some time in 2022, Sebastian took over as the main maintainer. And he's also known for some other really great crates, for example, an Algebra. I think that's something that most of you have heard about. Rapier, Perry, Salva, Simba. These are fluid and particle simulations mostly. And then there's me, and I have taken over the maintainership for the crate in this year. The situation was the following. I saw a lot of open PRs in the crate, and I saw that people were really interested in additional functionality. And so I forked the crate and I implemented, or basically I merged the open PRs, and then I also added some other functionality. And yeah, so this is basically just to keep in mind. This crate is quite old in terms of what is old in Rust. It's also a quite small code base, just 72,000, sorry, not 72, 7,200 lines of code in its current state. It's extremely widely used. It has like roughly 300,000 daily downloads, sometimes even up to 400,000. And there are 2,337 crates which depend on it. So this is really to set the stage because every change that we make to this crate, every small addition, every small change in functionality will affect lots of users in the end. Yeah, so this is just to set the stage. So what is this all about? Floating point comparisons, well, they are kind of tricky because, yeah, I mean, probably you've written some code like this already. It's the famous, you write 0.1 plus 0.2, and then you are surprised when it's not exactly equal as 0.3. And you try to run a simple assert macro, and this panics, of course, because the internal representation, the bitwise representation, has some kind of small uncertainty when performing these calculations. So one of the solutions is what approx aims to solve, is basically to provide macros with which you can compare these values given a certain epsilon value. And this epsilon value will always be like the margin of error in which these values will be of each other. And the idea is basically that the assert macro, which I've listed on the left-hand side, is replaced by a different assert macro on the right-hand side. And there are various types of these of comparisons. For example, what I've written on the right-hand side here is the absolute comparison, and then there's also relative and the units in last place. And then there are a few traits which you can implement monotypes, but we'll see this in just a second. So first up, I also want to highlight this particular article here. This is from Goldberg. It's called What Every Computer Scientist Should Know About Floating Point Arithmetic. I actually believe that the title is somewhat misleading because it's a long document. If you download it as PDF, I think it's roughly 30 pages or something. And for us, at least, the Rust programming language uses a particular IEEE standard, and it's just a subset of this paper, let's say. So if you want to read it, I highly recommend it. I think it's really nice. I think it's written really well. It's often cited as well, and yeah, you can basically scroll down here, and it will explain with all mathematical formula for various different standards what is the yeah, what are the processes that are involved here in the bitwise representation of our computers. And yeah, most of the weird things which I've listed before can be traced to the bitwise representation, which is nicely explained in this article. For example, the bitwise representation of 0.1 would be an infinite a series of numbers, which we can't represent, of course, correctly in a computer which uses binary. Yeah, which uses this type of representation. Then I've also mentioned that Rust floats follow the IEEE 754 2008 standard. This is just to keep in mind if you ever look something up, that's the standard. So far, we have two floating point times, which is F32 and F64, which are implemented on the language level. There are various other crates which add more functionality. And I mean, yesterday's discussion, I think, was also quite interesting. Timo made the case, Timo Wettke, that floating point 8 is all you need. I think he linked also to a very interesting paper. Yeah, maybe he can delve deeper into that I mean, we already did basically yesterday. And of course, F16, highly popular in all machine learning stuff. F80 is what's also being pushed right now. And Goldberg basically covers most of them. Yeah, and then of course, the approx crate builds on these concepts, builds on what is written here basically, and implements some of these comparisons. So if you forget everything about this crate, and you just want to know, okay, I want to do floating point comparisons. What do I need to do? Use these macros. That's the TLDR of this whole talk, basically. We have three different ones. I've already mentioned that. So we have absolute comparisons, where you check basically how far two values are separated from each other. And there are 4 different macros for that. We have an assert macro for equality, for not equality, and then we have 2 macros which are which deliver a Boolean. We have the same for relative. Here it's often implemented like this, and because here is a multiplication instead of division, but on a theoretical level, you would divide by this value, and then it's the relative difference of these values. And sometimes that has also to be noted. Sometimes this maximum here is some implementations differ here. So some will not use a maximum, for example. And we also have the same for macros here. And then there is units of last, sorry, what's it called? Units in last place, right? And yeah, that's basically the distance in float space. So that measures how many values are between one and the other value. And here are some examples of how to use them. So I've also given you some examples before. You can use them like this, for example, if you want to do absolute comparisons. Notice here that we are comparing this value with this one, and I did not specify a particular epsilon. This is due to the fact that there is a default epsilon involved here. We'll circle back to this in a few slides. But you can also provide the epsilon manually, and there are also some other options here, and people have also delved into the question of, for example, how to formulate custom error messages for these assert macros. Right, the relative comparison not only has an epsilon value, but also a max relative value, which you can specify here, and then similar for the units in last place. Okay, that's basically what I already said. One important thing to keep in mind is there's also a debug version of these macros. So for example, if you're writing some type of numerical library and you want these things, you want to get rid of these things once you compile to the release candidate, sorry, not the release, in the release version, then there's a debug macro which will achieve that. Overall, this is like a really, really lightweight implementation of these things. So you won't really notice the computational overhead of these small checks, I would say. I mean, just if you have like a huge array, for example, and that you implement the comparisons on the whole array and you perform the calculation, of course, then you might feel it. But for a single floating point calculation, it's basically nothing. And of course, they are drop-in replacement, as I've already mentioned. Okay, so then let's take a look at the traits themselves. I think here is where the interesting stuff is really written down. So we'll take a look at the left-hand side first. So we have the absolute difference equality trait. It has a few trait bounds. And we have the epsilon type. This is the type of the floating point value. So for example, if we have like a floating point comparison with F64, F16, F32, whatever. And then this is the famous default epsilon. In the current implementation, this is typically chosen by the F64 epsilon value, which is the machine precision, basically. And yeah, as I've already told you, we will circle back to this in just a second. This function here, this actively performs the comparison. And you see that there are just three arguments. You have the self value, you have the other value, and then you have the epsilon value. And that is a little bit different in the relative equal case, where you also have an epsilon value, like before in the absolute difference case, but also the max relative. And this is just because it also checks if the values are close to each other, in addition to relative closeness. I will make this very quick. We have derived macros. They're quite nice. They spare you a lot of time. There's some additional compile time involved. There are some challenges in how to define the default epsilon. And as it is right now, we have one fixed value. And the idea is to probably change this with like a strategy of how to assign this epsilon value based on different input values. Yeah, there is a new version of approx coming out, 0.6. It has quite a lot of features, many new types, derived macros, many new crates which are supported, and some internal stuff as well. And yeah, we will probably release a few more candidates before it actually lands. Lots of crates use approx. Probably you already know all of them. Yeah, and if you have any ideas for how to further develop this crate, let me know.